customer webinar. Thank you very, very much for attending today. We're going to be talking about a really exciting new partnership and a new service that I'm personally very excited about. It's called ComicsPlus Library Edition. So my name is Brian. I'm the Director of Account Management here at Boopsie for Libraries. And with me today are a couple different guests. One is Tony Madrano, the Boopsie for Libraries CEO. And also joining us is Josh Elder, the Account Director at iVerse and ComicsPlus Library Edition. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Great. I just want to intro Josh real quick because in addition to overseeing ComicsPlus Library Edition, he's also an award-winning comic book author, the creator of the graphic novel series Mail Order Ninja, and he's also the president and founder of Reading with Pictures. It's a nonprofit organization that advocates the use of comics in the classroom to promote literacy and improve educational outcomes for all students. So I want to just intro Josh. I usually don't give that kind of an intro to everyone, but he's definitely an expert in the field. And to let everybody know, I typically leave people on mute during the webinars just to avoid any audio issues. But feel free to type questions into the dashboard there anytime. We'll leave some time for Q&A at the end, but yeah, feel free to ask questions anytime. And then next week, our customer webinar, is on Wednesday the 25th. And we're going to be discussing our new embedded reader with Overdrive. So it's a really, really exciting and new and seamless way to read ebooks on mobile devices. And we think it's a huge game changer for your patrons and for libraries. And if you're going to ALA later this month, we'll be exhibiting at booth 2032. Starts end of next week. Okay, so let's get started here. What is ComicsPlus Library Edition? So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this service, but it's basically an online streaming service that provides libraries with access to thousands of different digital graphic novels, comic books, and manga. It's at a per checkout price and has simultaneous circulation to almost every single mobile device, tablet, or PC. And Josh, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of how ComicsPlus Library Edition started and anything else that you want to introduce?
Sure. So kind of like the secret origin of the project is that it grew out of the work that I did in the advocacy world of Reading with Pictures. I regularly do workshops and lectures in schools and libraries all around the country, and actually recently the State Department has been sending me abroad to do that in Chile, Belarus, and in Germany. And while I was talking to those librarians, talking to those educators, I also made a point to listen. And I'd find out, well, what do you do with comics? What would you like to do with comics? What are the barriers in the way? And some of the biggest ones were things like the knowledge problem. What do we select? Where do we spend our money on in order to maximize the value of the collection? Graphic novels have really high shrinkage rates, whether it's due to theft or just the books are literally read to pieces. There's the issue of shelf space. These manga series can go 60, 80, 100 volumes. Where do you find the space for them all? And then finally, they're so popular that everybody wants to read them, and everybody wants to read them at once. So how do you handle that? Do you buy multiple copies of the most popular titles? That's not really maximizing the value of the collection. And so we looked at the idea of digital as a way to sort of cut the Gordian knot of problems that surround graphic novel circulation. And so, we asked the librarians, what's the ideal lending platform? What are the ideal methods of lending and of usage and of access? And then we tried to build that, and I think we've become pretty darn close.
Great, thanks, Josh. And can you tell us a little bit more about iVerse Media as well?
Sure. So iVerse Media, we were the first company to offer digital comics on mobile devices. We were on the iPhone. We were the first comics app on the iPhone. We were a launch app on the iPad. And iVerse as a business has been growing, ever since, and moving in, bringing comics into new markets. We do international translations in close to a dozen languages in dozens of countries all around the world. And the library edition is our attempt to bring the publisher relationships that we have with publishers like Viz, Archie, Andrews McNeil Publishing, Boom, to the comic space and bring our technological know-how with us as well, so we can deliver a great reading experience that has already been a proven hit in the consumer market into the library space, and the same titles that are big hits in the consumer market into the library space as well.
Very good. Okay, and so the catalog now for ComicsPlus Library Edition is over about 10,000 titles. Is that right, Josh?
That is correct.
Great. And can you talk a little bit about the types of different genres and publishers you currently are working with?
Absolutely. So I mean, we deal with all sorts of genres, pretty much everything you can imagine for any age group, any interest, we cover. Whether it's kids adventure comics, whether it's romance, horror, whatever your patrons want, we can deliver it. And we have publishers like Viz Media and titles like Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Bleach. Any teen or children's librarians on the call right now definitely know every title I just mentioned. We have from Andrews McNeil, we have Dilbert, Doonesbury, Big Nate. From Paper Cuts, we have the Smurfs, Ninjago, a number of other Lego titles, Geronimo Stilton. A lot of these, and of course we have the entire Archie lines. We have Archie, Jughead, Betty Veronica, Sonic the Hedgehog. Whatever franchise or whatever sort of major property that you're looking for, we likely have it. And we have content from beginning readers with the Toon Books line all the way up through teens and adults with publishers like Dynamite and Andrews McNeil. So again, whatever interest, whatever topic, whatever branded franchise, we have it. We also have a lot of educational content too, like the Classics Illustrated line, Graphic Classics. We have Capstone publishers within our system, and they have any number of nonfiction titles in any number of topics. So again, whatever the goal is for your collection in general and with graphic novels in specific, we can deliver that.
I think that the educational content is a good transition because we're part of the unique model of ComicsPlus Library Edition subscription or service, is that you do offer simultaneous checkout. So, if there was something, if the library is interested in doing a reading group, that is possible with the digital subscription. Can you talk a little bit more about that, or kind of what the thought process is behind the simultaneous checkouts and how libraries can kind of utilize the reading groups to really engage their patrons?
Sure. So the simultaneous checkout was one of the things that seemed like a no-brainer to me, and because every teacher and every librarian had asked for it. And so we made sure that was a part of it. Once we changed the business model, which I'm getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but once we changed the business model from purchasing an instance of a book, which is how most e-lending services handle it today, to the idea of a pay-per-use scenario, then we were able to say, well, 28 people, 30 people, 100 people checking out the same book at the same time, well, that's just a use. And as long as your budget allows for that, well, then you can do it. And so you don't have to buy 20 copies of Naruto because you're going to have 20 kids that all want to read it at the same time. You just say, check out Naruto. And you can then create very easily reading groups within the library, or if you're looking at this from a scholastic perspective, every student in the class can check out and read the same book at the same time. And the cost of that comes out to pretty much the equivalent of buying one print copy of the book. So you can give your entire class or an entire reading group access to the digital book that they can all read and discuss at the same time for approximately the same cost as buying one copy of that book in print. And we think that's a real game changer in terms of accessibility and in terms of the kind of programming that you can do and build around thanks to this system. My mother's a school librarian too, by the way, so she always kind of influences the stuff that I do. This is the kind of thing that she wanted to see, so I made sure she got it.
That's great, and it makes sense. Some of these series, can go on virtually forever, right? So it makes sense to have them in digital format and have all of your patrons can check them out at the same time. Is that kind of the main thinking behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. We just wanted to take advantage of the kind of things that digital allows you to do, and one of them is simultaneous access to the same content.
Great. What I like, and for everyone, we're going to show a quick demo in a few minutes here, is comics and graphic novels are obviously such a great visual medium. I think it really is good on a tablet, and you're going to see that in a few minutes. Can you talk a little bit, Josh, about how we've talked about this offline, just about how the real kind of circ generators, or the most popular series, are maybe not the ones that I have heard of in particular, someone not in the business or not a heavy comic reader, and then maybe some titles that you currently have, some publishers you currently have, and maybe some that you're hoping to add down the line.
Sure. So you'll see a bunch of logos from some of our key publishers up there right now. Boom Studios, which has a license to Adventure Time and the regular show, two huge hits on Cartoon Network, and two of the currently best-selling comic titles for kids and tweens. Viz Media, which is the home of Naruto, Dragon Ball, Bleach, One Piece. One Piece is the best-selling manga in the world, and the best-selling graphic novel series in the world right now. So the manga is comics from Japan, and both in Japan and abroad, manga are typically the best-selling comic materials in the world. And that is also true in the United States. The best-selling graphic novels are typically dominated by Viz titles, and One Piece and Naruto are two of the biggest ones in that catalog, and we have them. And when you look at your circulation, when we think comics, we often think superheroes. We think Spider-Man and Superman and Batman. And as someone who has written all those characters professionally and has a Superman tattoo, I certainly think about those guys too when I think about comics. But if you look at your circ numbers, what you will discover is it's not those characters that drive the circulation. It's manga. It's titles like Adventure Time, or from Paper Cuts, the Ninjago series, or Geronimo Stilton. Or you look at Archie, which has the best-selling pamphlet comics in America. Sonic the Hedgehog, Archie Double Digest, those outsell Amazing Spider-Man and Batman and Superman and the Justice League and the Avengers. That's where the actual readership is. And although we have content deals with Marvel and with some of those other publishers, we haven't brought them into the library system yet. But what we've seen is that doesn't really seem to matter. People, the patrons love what we have, and you know, it's never a bad thing to have those superheroes. But the true drivers of circulation, both in print and digital, are manga and popular kids titles like Archie, Adventure Time, The Smurfs, Ninjago.
And you do seem to add new titles pretty frequently as well, correct?
Yeah, we add hundreds of new titles every week, just because most of the publishers we work with. So we say 10,000 titles. We have over 2,500 graphic novel titles, and then 7,500, give or take, comic book single issue titles. And every week we add a few dozen graphic novels, but we add well over 100 comic titles each and every week. So just through our normal process of adding new content, much less when we sign new publishers and get access to their back catalogs, we're always growing that catalog by a substantial amount each and every week. Great.
And just to reiterate, you don't have to go through and choose titles. All of these titles are in the ComicsPlus Library Edition for every library, correct?
Right. Once you have access to Library Edition, you have access to Library Edition. There are no walls. There is no segregation. It's a database-style system where the whole of it is open to you, and it's patron-driven acquisition. The patrons decide which titles from this very large catalog they want to read, and in which order they want to read them. And then from a curation perspective, instead of trying to pick the winners out beforehand, what you can then do is start looking at the trends of usage and say, let's make a reading group based around this series that everyone does seem to be reading. And then you're not trying to predict the future. You're looking at trends on the ground and then amplifying those. And that's where the curation and the active participation on behalf of the librarians in your library, that's where you guys can sort of take a personal involvement.
Well, we say obviously one of the main benefits of a Bootseed library app is to engage with those younger patrons, younger users in your community that may not frequent the library as much, but they are going to absolutely use this service. This is going to be the main driver for that type of user group. So there's a Publishers Weekly article that came out last year that talks about just how hot the comics and graphic novels and manga section is at the library. And one of our customers, Cuyahoga County Public Library, found that although comics and graphic novels were only about 10% of their collection, they were actually 35% of their circulation. So just a huge amount. And then we've also found that it's really popular in the academic market as well, not just high school, which you could imagine, but also higher education. And Josh, is there anything you could add to kind of the collection versus circulation percentages that can really just show how important this section is to the library?
So kind of one of the first studies, when we were building the program, we did a couple case studies, one in Pasadena, California, and one in Queens, New York, where we had them run the numbers internally to discover what the circulation was, what the shrink or loss rate was, a number of factors to determine, what did it actually really cost the library to store and circ these graphic novels. And the cost per circ of graphic novels is remarkably low because they circ so much. Even unpopular graphic novels do pretty well. But, when you started adding in all the negatives of having a super high circing area in your library, loss, damage, the shelf space issue, just the amount of actual physical time that has to be spent by the librarians to reshelve those books. Anyone who's ever, been to the teen section at the end of the day at a library and you find, 50 books sprawled across a table in there, it's a tiny bit of time every day, but that really adds up, and that time is money. And we then realized that we could keep everything that's great about graphic novel circulation. And again, the age demos that are most likely to circ those graphic novels are also the age demos that are most likely to use digital products at the library. So we said, why don't we use the digital service to eliminate all of the negative costs associated with having an extremely high circing section of your library, but still give you all the benefits. And what we found in Queens and Pasadena was, in Queens, they found that the average graphic novel on the shelf outcirced the most popular YA titles in their library. So at the peak of Twilight Mania, you could just grab a random graphic novel off the shelf, and it would be a coin flip as to whether it was as popular as Twilight or not. And that's an amazing thing. And with ComicsPlus Library Edition, we want to try and use these digital tools to help you unlock that circulation power, that having to make this huge investment to build up that physical collection.
Josh, this is Tony. Why do you think that was, that the graphic novels were outcircling the Twilight titles in the collection?
So, there's a number of different answers to that. One, there are a few kind of practical and wonkish questions. The first is, hold on, someone's doing something crazy on my street. Let me close the window. Sorry about that, folks. So kind of the easy sort of wonkish way to look at this is graphic novels don't take as long to read, and therefore they can be consumed and turned over quicker than those YA novels, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times as fast. And so that's a big multiplier. The other is that the age range of comics and graphic novels is typically much wider than most fiction. So there's a lot of fiction that it really has a fairly well-defined age range, and there are some people that are younger that will read it and some people that are older that will read it, but it's a lot stickier versus graphic novels where if you like them, then you'll see 8-year-olds and 28-year-olds often reading the same content. And the work we've done reading the pictures, we actually have looked into the what's going on kind of in the brain when you read comics and how visuals create this sort of scaffolding that helps younger or struggling readers sort of read above their normal capacity with comics, while at the same time the sophisticated interplay of words and pictures allows an older reader or more sophisticated reader to also get something out of what would typically be deemed more juvenile material, because there's this whole other area of sophistication happening within the visuals. So I mean, without getting too sciencey about it, they're faster to read, and the age range of people that will engage with most graphic novels is wider with graphic novels than it is with prose.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Josh. Let's talk a little bit about the actual the process of accessing these titles through ComicsPlus Library Edition. Initially, you can access it from virtually any device. So not only tablets and smartphones and through the library app, but also on the PC, whether or not you're a Boopsy customer. Josh, can you talk a little bit about the digital experience overall and kind of maybe how that started with ComicsPlus Library Edition?
So the digital experience is really just our consumer experience brought to the library space. There's very little difference. If you've used the regular ComicsPlus app, then this will look very, very familiar to you indeed. And we spent years kind of working out the kinks on how to provide a good reading experience, how to make the process of finding comics, checking them out, reading them on multiple devices, all linked to the same account. We leapt those hurdles years ago on the consumer side, and we just brought all that knowledge to the library space. So it's one integrated experience across multiple devices, and we've been delivering that in the consumer space for a while, and now we've again brought it here.
Great, and the actual checkout, so the lending period is 7 days. Your title will be checked in after 7 days. You don't have to do anything. It'll automatically kind of expire from your account. And as you'll see in a minute in the demo, you'll get it every time you open your bookshelf, your virtual bookshelf. You'll see how many days you have left for each title, which is a nice feature. You don't have to, obviously worry about late fees and things like that. And you can just access the virtual bookshelf via your library card number. Is there anything else to add, Josh, to the kind of checkout experience or the virtual bookshelf? As I get the demo ready, did you want to talk about the how the browse feature works, or what exactly, how you guys kind of decided on the browse feature?
Sure. So again, we ported this over from our consumer product, and so a lot of browsing can either be done at the publisher level. You can search for titles or authors, and then we also have some tools that can make it so you just are looking at kids' books. You're just looking at teen titles. So we have a number of tools that we developed on the consumer side that we brought over. It's not as comprehensive as some of the search tools that you're going to have in your OPAC, but we are working on some new code that will allow us. We've been creating mark records for these titles, and our goal is to link those mark records up to your library's OPAC and then back into the system, so that eventually you'll just be doing the same sort of searches and browsing that you would for any title in the library, and then it'll automatically take you to ComicsPlus when you find what you're looking for. But as it is right now, it uses the same toolkit that we use in the consumer space. Again, that's proven successful and popular there. They can find titles, they can find content by title, by certain genres, and by author. So, all those tools exist for them to find the stuff that they're looking for.
Great. Well, let me share my screen with you. I'm currently on an iPad here. Hopefully everyone can see that. And if it is a little bit slow, I apologize, with a number of different programs running on my computer. But it works very similar if you have Overdrive or 3M Cloud Library or Hoopla Digital integrated into your library and mobile app. You're probably familiar with how that would work. Our tech team, our engineers have been working really hard with the iVerse team to get this integrated, and we're going live in a couple of our library customers soon. So in addition to the desktop version, which all of you will have access to, you can also integrate it into your library mobile app. So it'll launch either from the home screen of your app, or maybe in the kind of database section or the e-content section, however you choose to do that. And then it will launch right into the ComicsPlus Library Edition mobile app after the patron puts in their library card number and PIN. And then this is the actual virtual bookshelf, so you can see the titles that I've already checked out, and that's where it says, each title, how many days I have left until it expires, or until that 7-day lending period is complete. So no need to do anything, no need to check in the items. And then there's a couple different ways to browse. Obviously, there's the bar at the top to browse easily. And then there's also some browse button at the bottom of the app. All right, it's thinking. Sorry about that. Okay, just bear with me for 1 second, and I will bring the mobile app back to the home page here. And Josh, can you talk again about some of the most popular titles? I mean, people may see Archie up here and be surprised at how popular that is, but were you guys surprised at all about when ComicsPlus Library Edition launched, what titles moved or had more circulation, or was that pretty expected?
Not really. I mean, when we launched, we we'd already done the homework on what titles were moving physically. We also had a lot of data on what titles were popular digitally, and we had a lot of publishers offer free titles. So the first issue of a series would be available for free in order to sort of hook you on the rest. So we saw when people had just the option to choose whatever they wanted, what did they choose? Where did they go? So we already knew a lot of that, and we knew that Archie would be a big hit for one. Archie's one of our actually biggest sellers in the app, and again, we also knew that in print, Archie is the best-selling comic in America, and has been for a very long time. So none of that surprised us. And then, when you talked about some of the other big ones, it was franchises that everyone's familiar with. Well, not everyone's familiar with, but certainly people that are actively seeking this out are. So, we had stuff like, we have a lot of different Charlie Brown and Snoopy material. We have stuff from Boom like Adventure Time. So franchises that have big and active fan bases, and they were checking stuff out. So, we weren't really surprised at all, to be honest. the numbers that we saw, the titles that were getting checked out. But wasn't necessarily a surprise, it was pleasant to see, was that patrons would kind of make experiments. They'd go and check out series that they probably hadn't heard of before, but were available in the app, and well, that looks pretty interesting, I'll read it. And then we would see them come back and read every other volume in the series. And that was pretty cool, where the idea that the discoverability factor was really there, and that was exciting. Oh, looks like we're in the viewer now. So once we open up one of these titles, you can sort of see how the reading process works. It's really intuitive. Because it's platform agnostic, the system as it stands right now is designed to be read through a browser on any device, again, any browser-capable device, so any smartphone, any tablet, and obviously any PC system. We are planning to launch dedicated apps for the different mobile devices. We have that in the consumer space. It's just sort of synchronizing all of it up. But the browser system works, again, across every product, and everything's done either with, right-left movements, up, down, or a couple of the, you have a couple hotkeys that allow you to move through the comics as well. Again, a very simple, very intuitive reading experience.
Yeah, great, Josh, and sorry about that. Sorry, everyone. We the developer tool was in development mode, but I have a few screenshots here as a backup plan. So, as Josh was saying, here's the virtual bookshelf, and then as you open it up, you can, in landscape version, you can see your shelf on the left, and then the actual reader on the right, and then you can go to the fuller version to get the real. To get the full, really the visual medium looks best on an iPad, kind of like this, and you can see how pretty it is. But I've just been told that the designer tool is back up, so we'll see here. Okay, now it would work. You're in your library mobile app, and you just launched the ComicsPlus library edition right from the app, and it does take you to the browse feature. And as we've said, there's over 10,000 titles, and so you can search for specific titles or publishers here. And it's really easy. It's part of the reason this is such a great search generator, I believe, is how easy it is to check out these items and start kind of reading them right away. And you can see all the different titles do have the age range on listed right there, so that does help with picking out the titles. And it's already in my virtual bookshelf, and I'm reading in seconds. So you'll increase your significantly, and it's a very nice kind of user experience to start reading this on a tablet in particular.
Good choice, by the way. This is a favorite.
That's a good one?
Yeah, that's a really good one. The art's really fantastic. And the guy, the artist is Chicagoan, like myself. And just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Looks like it should be, it's the best movie Tim Burton hasn't made yet.
Yeah, it absolutely looks like a Tim Burton type of story.
But you can see that there's an extraordinary amount of detail in the artwork, and that detail can be captured, in the digital realm with just as much fidelity as it would in print.
Okay, great. And I think with the technical difficulties, that went on long enough. But I hope you get the idea. It's really simple and really a very beautiful user experience to go through a tablet. It does work on the mobile phones as well, but I think to get the full scope of it, a PC or a tablet is the best experience that we've found so far. Okay, let's talk a little bit about pricing and the actual delivery of ComicsPlus Library Edition. When you actually are paying for blocks, so we have a minimum of $1,000 for a block of 2,500 credits. And how that works is comics are 1 credit, graphic novels are 2 credits, but we on this end will meter the block, so you don't use it all in a month. We can meter that out for the life of the block, so you can have a certain amount of kind of certs or comics, graphic novels checked out per month. And I think it's a really easy, kind of simple way to do it. You don't have to choose specific titles. You buy the block, and then your patrons have access to the entire ComicsPlus Library Edition database. Anything else to add, Josh, specifically to pricing and delivery? There's a few details here. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to everybody one-on-one about their specific situation in the future, but anything to add overall, Josh?
Well, on the pricing and delivery side, once you start looking at titles from a cost per cert standpoint, you'll find that print costs, once you do all the actual math, you'll find it costs more than you think it does. And also, when you look at a lot of the digital products, you'll find that if you're paying $60, $80 up front for an ebook that has a limited number of circulations before you have to replace it, you'll find that it's 2-3 times what our per cert cost is. We really tried to make this the best deal that we could, and because we weren't having to a lot of these other terms with other publishers are dictated by what Penguin, Random House, I guess they're both just Penguin and Random House now, they're the same thing, HarperCollins, but all the big 6 or now big 5 publishers, they sort of dictated those terms. We were able to sort of sidestep that and get a better deal for everyone, especially the librarians. And again, those credits go to any product in the entire database. So if you have a patron, you have one patron that wants to read one series, before it wouldn't have made any sense to purchase that book for that patron. It wouldn't have been a good use of funds. But here and now with this system, it is. And now you can do a better job of serving all of your patrons because you don't have to select the comics. You let your patrons do that. You just give them access to this huge database, the biggest database of comics and graphic novels available to libraries from any provider, and give them the opportunity to find what they want to read. Great,
and a couple other things to add. There's no contract really, it's just a short one-page agreement. If you're already a customer with Boopsy, it's a short addendum to your existing contract, and no setup fee at all, and it takes about 2 weeks or so after you sign up to activate it at your library. But I wanted to make sure, we did go on a little bit long, but I hope it was very informative. But if you have any questions for Josh or Tony or myself, please let us know. We had a couple of questions already, but yeah, feel free to type them into your dashboard there. Josh, there was a couple of questions about kind of the age levels. Someone asked, can they limit their subscription to a certain age level? Is that possible?
Yes. There are a lot of sort of different levers and buttons that we can pull and press on the back end. And one of those is if you want to completely restrict access to titles and only offer titles at certain age ranges, that's very easy to do.
Okay, great. And this, Betsy Oren had asked it for junior high in particular, so I think that'd be a great feature for them.
Yep.
There was also a question, and I think I know the answer to this, but I wanted to ask it, want you to answer this, Josh. Someone is asking, can they select specific collections, like just graphic novels and not comics, or do they get the entire database either way?
I mean, it really is just the entire database, and there's no real advantage to pruning it because it's not going to cost any less. It's just you pay for the number of searches that you have. You're just searching from a smaller pool. If you want to sort of guide the reading, then what we would recommend is developing sort of recommended reading lists. And one of the things we're planning to roll out in partnership with Boopsy is a kind of I guess reading club that we will send out every month that has titles that we recommend with sort of some discussion questions and a springboard for you to turn that into a reading group and a reading club in your library, in your school. But then you can do the same thing yourselves, where you take these titles and you find the ones that you think they should be reading, and you guide them to do that. I'd also recommend checking out readingwithpictures.org, which is the website for the Reading with Pictures organization that I'm the president of. We have a lot of recommended reading lists and reading guides and a lot of tools for educators and librarians to get the most out of comics and graphic novels. So, that's a resource that you can use to really, increase the value of your ComicsPlus Library Edition collection.
Great, great. Did you have anything else to add, Josh? Anywhere did you want to give anyone your contact information as well? You can always, everyone here can send me an email at brian@boopsy.com anytime, and then there's boopsy.com/customer-webinars to view the recording of this webinar starting later today, and then all of our future webinars are located there as well. But Josh, was there anything else you wanted to add? It looks like that's all the questions we had.
I mean, the only thing that I want to add is pretty much the thing that I started with, which is this came from librarians. This is the system that they said that they wanted, and we did everything in our power to deliver that. And it's always a work in progress. We're always adding features. We're always, improving the user experience, and we want feedback on how to do that. We want this to continue to be the best and optimal system for librarians. And so we want you guys to continue to give us feedback and to give us ideas and suggestions because we want to make this your system. yeah, that's it. Thank you all for coming out, and I hope we see you signed up on Library Edition very soon.
Great, yeah, and thanks again, Josh. Josh will be at ALA as well. He might be stopping by the Bootsy booth on occasion, and he'll be running around ALA. So thanks everyone for joining us. If you have any follow-up questions, please let me know and contact us once you're interested in signing up for ComicsPlus Library Edition. I think it would be a great addition to your library overall, and especially your mobile app. So thanks so much, Josh, for joining us, and everyone have a great week.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.